fray, but apparently sees this as a critical matter to decide upon just months before the election. Joining me now, Blaise Agnolia, the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, and Gina Loudon, political analyst, author, and member of President Trump's Media Advisory Board. Welcome to both of you. So I wanted to ask you, obviously starting off on the DACA front, look, immigration has taken front and center stage over the past 2 nights. You've got people like Julian Castro, calling for decriminalizing border crossings. Gina, how do you think that plays in a general election?
I don't think it plays well. It's interesting. I was talking to a minority friend of mine today, and she was telling me that she is getting deluged with direct messages from friends of hers back in her home country telling her, please vote for Trump. They love him abroad, and she said that message isn't getting carried here. I think if you take this to its natural end, where do you draw the line, Lisa? So 11 million now? Do we just keep letting them come? And at what point does America just go under? Because we can have all the compassion in the world. The problem is everything else is finite. Money and things are finite. So that's the problem.
Well, and Blaise, looking at the Hispanic vote, so it's not monolithic, right? I mean, you know Florida. There's a huge Cuban population, 190,000 Venezuelans. Look, they know socialism, okay? And you've got a self-avowed socialist on the stage last night, Bernie Sanders. Does that motivate some of these voters in the Republican camp looking ahead at 2020?
Well, sure, it's going to motivate a lot of Republican voters. It's going to motivate a lot of Republican people to run for office. Look, what we've seen during that debate was a lurch towards socialism. And I would say that there really isn't. So you have to ask yourself the question, what is the Democrat Party base? It used to be the fringe left, but when you have every candidate on TV raising their hand saying that they're going to give free health care to illegals, that is the base. The Democrat Party has transformed itself into something that nobody can recognize anymore. It was a lurch towards socialism. You're talking about a war on profits. You're talking about Medicare for all, banning private insurance companies. And then after all of that, you had a candidate the next day quoting Che Guevara in Miami, in the state of Florida. The Democrat Party has just lost their way.
Gina, and what about that with giving health care to illegal immigrants? I mean, the New York Post had a cover and said, who wants to lose the election? We showed it earlier. All those Democrats raising their hand when asked the question. I mean, President Trump's got to be pretty eager to take that on. I mean, am I right?
I saw a campaign commercial for President Trump in that moment.
Image. Images matter, right? How impactful is that?
And that was just it's unthinkable to most Americans. We already can't afford just our homeless population. We're scrambling with that. Our veterans who are killing themselves at an atrocious rate every single day. We're still struggling to put the pieces back together for the VA. There are so many things, so many really, truly compassionate things we need to do for Americans. And by the way, American children. And don't forget, Lisa, we're already funding a lot of health care for illegals. Don't forget that they come in and they manage to get into our hospitals and on our welfare rolls and all of those things. So we're already funding a lot of that. But the idea of spending trillions and trillions of dollars, I don't know where that's going to come from. And I don't know where it ends if we have open borders.
Well, also, when you're already talking about the fact that Medicare for All has, tens of trillions of dollars in price tag, and then you're talking about an estimated additional 22 illegal immigrants, clearly the math doesn't quite work out there. But I also want to talk about Vice President Biden, because he has been the perceived front runner for Democrats, but he did not have a good night last night. I want you to listen to some sound, and then Blaise, I'm going to go to you and get your thoughts on how Vice President Biden did. Listen to this.
To hear you talk about the reputations of 2 United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Mischaracterized my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true. Number one. Number two, if we want to have this campaign litigated on who supports civil rights and whether I did or not, I'm happy to do that.
So clearly sensing a vulnerability there on Vice President's race record. Blaise, how impactful was this? How potent was this?
It was a devastating blow to Joe Biden. Joe Biden went into this debate having the most to lose, and he lost. You know, and throughout the debate, you heard him multiple times say that about time, referring to time. He says, my time is up. And I think it is. I think his time is up. But not only that, but I think the whole Democrat Party, you know, when I look at these debates, when I watch them, I try to look at them through the lens of a swing voter in a swing district in a swing state. And what I seen last night was everyone pushing more big government has ever worked. And if any of these people were actually watching TV last night, watching these debates over the last 2 nights, they lost them. They're gone. That picture of everyone raising hands for the illegal
how much do you think we'll see that in attack ads?
It's going to be huge. It is going to be huge, not only for that debate, but if I was a Republican leader, what Republican leaders in every state house, including Mitch McConnell, should put up a vote in every chamber across the United States for free health care for illegals. That picture and that whole statement, that what went on during the debates, that could cost them not only the presidency, not only the federal House and the Senate, but a lot of state houses also, because now that has become mainstream in the Democrat Party.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Blaise Ingoglia and Gina Loudon. Thanks for joining me tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
My
Lisa.
pleasure.